All right, so today is Saturday, June 20th, and here's what I got done this week. I guess I'll just start off and show the big reveal. So things are really moving along. I got my panel in. It's a solid carbon fiber panel with laser etched silver labels. I really like it. I got it through Midwest Sky Sports over there. They got it to me quick, and it's really nice. So you can see the quality of the engraving is awesome. I even got to choose my own font for the etching. It's micro style extended. It's something that I use for a lot of different projects, and so yeah, I really like the way it came out. And in just a second I'll pop it out and kind of take some of the components off and show what I did on the back side of it there. So none of the stuff is really hooked up. I just kind of got it placed and see how everything's fitting. One thing to take note of is when you're installing your dash, the sides of the canopy and kind of the sidewalls in the plane, squeeze the dash inwards just slightly, which kind of changes the shape of it just slightly. So I pre-drilled a couple of the holes, but not all of them, when the dash was over there on the table, and they don't really line up that well. So one thing I would definitely recommend is place your dash and then set your panel in there and kind of drill off of that. I don't know if the relaxed shape of the dashboard is kind of the thing that's off, or if it gets distorted when you put it in the canopy. Certainly it changes shape just slightly when you put it in the canopy. Anyway, so yeah, I got a lot of upholstery stuff done this week. Got the center console all upholstered so I could put it in here. One trick that I used that I think is really helpful on the leather, it doesn't matter so much on the vinyl, because the vinyl is easy to cut with an X-Acto knife. Also, I got that rib put in so I can put the headset jacks in. Is anywhere that you have to drill a hole, you don't really want to, or at least I didn't want to drill straight through the leather, because it can catch the bit and twist the leather. And you can see how nice and straight everything ended up being. I actually took a soldering iron with an old tip that you don't need, or obviously don't solder with it afterwards, and just burnt a hole through each hole. And then you're able to drill it and do what you need with it. It kind of makes crispy edges. So those crispy edges drill easily, and it doesn't get caught in the drill bit. So that's something I would really recommend. I think it made everything come out really nice here. And yeah. So yeah, I've got the center console all upholstered and ready. I left 2 holes here. I'm gonna actually put very small little rubber bumpers here, so that when the center console shuts, it has something nice to kind of shut square on. It's probably not necessary, but I wanted to put it. So yeah, I started putting some of the connectors on. These are easy, just like I was saying before. Everything's labeled for, and the pins are already on it, and then they're labeled which number. So you just put it into the back shell or into the D sub part, clip them in, they just pop in, and you go from there. So yeah, this one's pretty much done. I got to put some edge guard here on the hole that it goes to get to the servo. Some zip ties to hold that ground wire. Yeah, it's going to move really quickly, but I spent more time this week kind of getting this panel prepped, and so I got my fuel selector valve ready. I marked out where the holes need to go to drill for the bolts that hold the selector in place. I decided I'm not going to put riv nuts on my fuel valve itself. I don't really want to drill it. I don't want to mess with it. So I'm just going to use bolts with nuts on the back. I think that I can access it through there, and it'll be a little bit cleaner. So yeah, I had this carbon fiber vinyl wrap, and it kind of matches, but you can see my panel is, since it's actual carbon fiber, it's got a shine to it, and this doesn't. So I think I'm going to put a different kind of vinyl wrap on it to make it match a little bit better. Plus, this is it has some texture, And I want to put some transfer stickers with the same font and the same color as this to try to tie it in really nice. If anybody knows where I can get transfer stickers that are, I don't know where to order them. I can't seem to find anywhere online where I can just type in some font and get some transfer stickers made that are small. Everybody online that I could find so far was, you know, big for like window labels or something. So yeah, if anybody knows where I can get that, that'd be awesome. Let me pull this panel out and show you kind of the back side of it. All right, so here's the panel outside of the plane. I took off kind of the big expensive pieces. And so yeah, one of the cool things about this is it's actually solid carbon fiber instead of just a sticker over it. That's cool because obviously it's really strong, it's really light, and it looks better than just a vinyl mask on it. So actually I weighed this panel and I weighed my aluminum one that I was using for my first attempt. And actually I'll cut to that right now and show the empty weights of them. All right, so here's the weight comparison between my aluminum panel that I had cut up before. 684 grams. And the carbon fiber panel. 295 grams, so half the weight, a savings of 300 grams or so. So yeah, this panel weighs just about half of what the aluminum one weighs. So a couple other things that I did for this one is when I mounted the switches, I machined these HDPE kind of braces for the back, and they serve a couple of different purposes. One, it stops them from rotating, which is cool because, you know, I guess I probably could have sourced switches with maybe a flat spot or something to locate them, but not only does it make it not rotate, but it also keeps them so that they're just flush kind of with the panel, rather than the barrel sticking out or having to adjust the back side of the because they come with two of these nuts. So rather than adjusting the backside and trying to get them all exactly the same, having that machined backside is a much nicer way to go. And that particular type of plastic weighs almost nothing. It's super, super lightweight, super easy to machine. So I liked that way. It's kind of funny because I have a full-blown CNC router and didn't end up making my panel. I saw this carbon fiber concept and I really, really liked it for a lot of different reasons. And I've never cut carbon fiber on my router before. So rather than buying blanks and having to run test pieces and cost and time and all that, this was just easier for me. So I could keep moving on other stuff and just have this made for me. So yeah, I actually filmed some of the machining of these back pieces. I guess I'll cut to that now. And I kind of thought that was worth showing. I have a vacuum attachment for it, but I don't use it very often, especially not with plastics. The bit can overheat inside that vacuum attachment and cause it to bind, and you don't really know because it's hidden in there. Plus vacuuming up the chips at the end is fun. So I think that machine is cool when it's running, so I wanted to show it. But yeah, so anyway, I mean, things are moving along here. Oh, I also did the same thing with the breakers. So it does the exact same thing, keeps it flush to the front here and keeps it from rotating, and it should be all good. The switches certainly don't generate any heat because they only go to the VPX, so power doesn't actually even go through them. It's just a signal wire. The breakers, I might drill some kind of holes through the sides of each I don't know if they get warm or not, but couldn't hurt to drill some cooling holes, and I guess also lighten the part up, but it doesn't really weigh anything anyway. So yeah, that's pretty much where it stands for this week. Machining out these braces and everything kind of for the backside took up a decent amount of my time. Trying to fit everything in, you know, it's a little bit time consuming, but yeah, now that I have all my my center console stuff upholstered, once I get my new vinyl wrap for this, I can start to hook all this stuff up, and it's all just right there ready to go. So I think it'll go pretty quick. Another thing is when you get your fuel valve piece, whatever this is called, it needs a ton of trimming. So you got to kind of like get everything fitted and then mark out, you know, where, so it doesn't interfere with the kind of the swoop here. Drill those out, and also mine had to be cut off. Whoops, it's hard to film and hold something. It was like maybe an inch and a half, maybe an inch, whatever it was, too long, and it interfered with the throttle kind of mechanisms down there, or the brackets. So I did have to trim that off. There's a couple things that I think I got to figure out with fitment. One of them is when you put the throttle quadrant part over this, it squeezes it in pretty far, and you can see it's not square, it kind of curves in on both sides, and then it kind of wants to pinch. Come on. It kind of wants to pinch the this side panel stuff here, and so I don't want this to like bow in or anything, and it's got to fit together. So I've got to figure out what to do with that. Maybe just trimming off the leather on the inside will be enough. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this week. Hopefully next week I can kind of figure out more of exactly the wiring here, but I do still need to, oh, and also there's a ton of trimming to be done on the dash itself to notch out for certain components and stuff to fit in there. I think it's pretty much all done. These seams here on both vents, especially that one, protrude like, I don't know, 6 millimeters or something, because so much, not this one's maybe like 3, but it definitely causes, you know, a bump. So either there's going to be a gap here, or, you know, if you really clamp it down, I guess you could warp the panel. So I have to address that still. And also the air valve opening thing, the vent lever needs to be cut out here. I got it marked. But yeah, now that the panels or the dash is in here, I can start really marking out and better drilling all the components where they're going to be, because like I said, those holes are off just slightly once they're in here, and then things kind of don't like to fit. So luckily I didn't drill them all out, and luckily they're not off a whole lot, it's just barely more. Oh, another thing that I decided to do is I'm not going to use riv nuts on the dash here. I'm going to use bolts with nuts on the back. You could see, at least where I had my holes from the file that Airplane Factory gave me, it's really close to the edge, and it's really close to the edge on the panel as well. And so you really don't have a lot of room to put a riv nut in there. And I mean, nuts with a nylock, a bolt with a nylock nut will do just fine. It'll be not even that bad. As long as I leave those 2 big screens out, I'll be able to reach in there and get those nuts on, no problem. So, all right, I think that's it for the week. So have a good weekend, and get back to it next week. I guess a couple more really quick points that I forgot about, I had them written down, is where your center console meets your seat rail. I actually have not riveted my seat rails down yet, or I had them and I took them off a while back for other reasons. But so I would really recommend keeping your seat rails not riveted, because either way, it's better to leave your outside ones off. And because you got to get to your wing bolts, and so that's going to be right in the way. I kind of stuck that one in and can't get it out, so I got to pull that out another time. But anyway, yeah, so what I did is I had the whole assembly off. I clecoed the rail onto here and just used a razor blade straight along that edge, and you can't even see, you can't even tell. And so rather than, this leather is like, it's got some thickness to it, you know, maybe two millimeters, and that really pushes, kind of tries to warp it when you stick it in there. So this was really nice, and it just cuts, you just cut with a razor right around it, and look at that, you can get it no problem. So yeah, and another thing that I forgot to mention last week is, don't forget, you can see it kind of glowing right there, the hole for your oat, the temperature probe for your oat, and because you don't want to get too deep and not be able to drill that. So you can see how hard it would be to drill with all this stuff in, but I'll be able to reach back there and install it still after the fact. But yeah, don't forget to drill that hole, preferably even before you put your duct on. So anyway, that's it for real. Have a good weekend.